Weight Watchers is just one example of the diet industry and how it's basically causing all sorts of destruction. Now, Mel, tell us a little bit more about the diet industry, or, you know, in many cases what we call the wellness industry now, which I think is just a euphemism for the diet industry, and like why it exists, and really like what's happening at an operational level in some of these companies.
I'll use the Weight Watchers campaign as an example. So when Weight Watchers introduced the campaign for free treatment for teens over the summer, at the same time they also released their financial goals to be able to produce over $2 billion by 2020. Those two things are not a coincidence. So the general public, who may not be paying much attention or nor are interested in the finance industry, it's not the most interesting industry, may not have realised that those two are going together or even heard anything about the financial piece. But what's really important here is that that campaign is not about giving back to the community, even though it looks as though it might be, and many people were very pleased to hear that Weight Watchers was kind of stepping up, etc. But have no doubt about it, is absolutely about making money and making dollars. And today we were just talking about where the weight loss industry is and the magnitude of it, and we know that from stats from last year, with just weight loss components, which is dieting and gym memberships and weight loss food, it's about $63 billion here in the US. In the US alone, it's over $120 billion internationally. And Megan, being more from the wellness industry, has some stats as far as what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, if you add the wellness industry to the diet industry, we get into the trillions. So right. It's and that's not to say that every form of wellness is diet focused. However, there are many times that something that's a wellness product or a wellness service will parade around as, what's the one where you get the colon cleansing or something like that, right? Like, I mean, it's wellness, whereas, in many ways, like, that's also a weight loss service, right? So there, when we actually start to look between the lines and peel back some of the layers, we can see that this is a huge, huge industry, and it's not coming from a place of wanting to help most of the time, right? It's coming from a place of wanting to make money, and is incredibly anti-feminist.
Yes.
It's oppressive. It makes it so that, I mean, you know the stats on this, Mel, like the brain power that it takes when a person is struggling with an eating disorder or wanting to diet, how much time is spent thinking about that, or being concerned about appearance, and things that ideally we wouldn't spend our time on if we felt good enough, and that takes away from the time that we could spend on, creating and changing and innovating and,
running for office.
Yes,
and maybe
exactly.
even running this particular administration at the moment. But anyway, I digress.
Yes,
I digress.
exactly.
You're absolutely right. I mean, basically, to sell a product, you need to make people feel that they will feel good by using the product, or make people feel that they're not good enough unless they use the product, right? So the diet industry is totally leveraging the idea that you can look better, you don't look good enough, cellulite is not okay, the bikini body is what you need to be loved and lovable and sexy and all the rest of it. And we get really caught up, we are very, very caught up in that, and social media just proliferates it to a whole other level. It's really, really hard, and the thin ideal that we have here in the States and also in most westernized countries, if not globally, is really kind of I think it's really keeping us so preoccupied with our number on the scale and the size of our genes, that all of that, as Megan said, all that amazing brain power that we could be giving to so many other things, is keeping us very distracted over here in the corner.
And
disempowered. So
silence.
Absolutely. So, I mean, there's a lot of money to be made, and there's a lot of money behind the marketing of these very, very sexy products. And so it's very enticing, actually. But we have the ability, I guess, or through our training, we are able to see kind of on the other side of what dieting really is about in the diet industry, and what's really behind a lot of this. And the simple truth is, the science does not support it. We've known for over 10 years from the research that diets do not work and are in fact harmful, yet somehow that message has not gotten out into the general public. And I think that's because the diet industry has so much money behind it that it's making sure that that message is actually blunted, or the volume's being turned way down on it.
Totally, and we're going to talk more about why diets don't work and how they actually cause eating disorders on a physiological level in the next video. But for now, keep that in mind next time you buy a fashion or fitness magazine, understanding like, okay, well actually, the message here is not one of empowerment, or not actually helpful, and perpetuate objectification and perpetuate eating disorders and shame and disconnection and all sorts of things. A lot of things. I'm on this soapbox here. So just keep that in mind, and you can choose not to buy in, and you can choose to use your energy and your life towards something more meaningful.
I think you're absolutely right. It's about being an educated consumer and not getting sucked into the vortex that is our culture.